feel like a lot of people don't like the relationship. They say like, oh, they're too lovey-dovey. They're always kissing. They're always happy. I'm sorry, you don't know what love is. People can be happy together. Okay, especially in the new phases of their relationships, especially gay people, especially lesbians,
Like, hello,
specifically.
hello.
Like girls move quickly. They're like don't get on my nerves. But
All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of another relaunch. I am a scroll. I am Karma, the psychic
oh,
demon.
that was cute and clever. I didn't even think about that. I'm Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. It was very simple for me.
Keep it simple. All right, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, it was supposed to be like really rainy and cloudy and gray this weekend, which I was kind of anticipating. You know, I've said it before, I like the rain, but the sun is shining. It's like a beautiful day today. And
Nice.
it's like, it's kind of muggy. You know, we always talk about DC is a bit of a swamp. So, like, some of the days, the humidity and stuff can be like, but it's good for like a quick run to the store, maybe go sit in the park for an hour or two, if you got a
Yeah.
dog. I don't have a dog. I just saw this guy with this huge dog, and it just made me realize that, like, I love dogs in theory, but I don't think I will.
Really, I love dogs.
In
I
theory,
don't really want a
yes.
big dog, but I like dogs.
And I definitely don't want a big dog. If I My dream dog, I've always said, is a French bulldog. At most, I'll get like an English one. But like I think about my friends who have dogs, and it true, and or even when I've dog sitted for them, it truly is a job. You got to wake up, you got to take these babies out, you got to make sure they eat, you have to feed them, keep them alive. If you go out of town, you got to make sure somebody can watch them, or you got to try and figure out how you can travel with them, and all of those type of things. And it's just like,
It's a
no.
responsibility.
Some days I want to sleep in. Maybe I went out drinking last night and I don't want to wake up until 12 p.m. But no, I got to get up because I got to take the dog out.
But what happens if you got to have a guest over or something? You got to tell them, oh,
Take my
FYI,
dog out.
I got a dog. Oh no, not tell them to do it, but like
Oh.
you got to prepare people to be like, hey, you got a problem with dogs? Because I got a
Oh, yeah.
dog.
And you know, everyone,
And
and
there's
I get,
nothing worse when you go over to somebody's house and like got their dog out and it's like all over you and it's like this is the energy I wanted right now. Like I'm just
you,
gonna kick it.
you got to know like who the people are and how they associate with the dogs, because you know some people let their dogs like sleep in the bed, some people let them up on the furniture, other people do not. I'll never forget, I dated this guy. He did not like his dog up on his couch, but if I was like watching the dog, I used to let the dog get up on the couch all the time.
Like oh, this is
So
chill.
I never forget, like he went out of town once, and so I was over there dog sitting, and like he was coming back, and me and the dog was like taking a nap on the couch, and so we started hearing him come to the door. When I tell you, the dog hopped up and like ran over to his bed, and I like jumped up too, like, oh no, stop it.
We gonna get in trouble.
I was like, no, no, no. And he wanted, he was just looking at us. He was like, he was on my couch, wasn't he? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. You got nothing to do with me. But
You
that
see,
was
he'll be
that.
like, look where he is right now. He's not there. So
Good right now. But nonetheless, that's my thing on dogs. They're big. I don't think I would want a big dog though. When I see people with two big dogs, again, I knew this guy. He had this really big dog. The dog like chewed through his wall.
whoa, this is what I mean. Why you got a dog that big that could do that? That's a horse.
Truly,
You don't need all of that.
it's kind of scary.
I like too much for me. I mean, it's been fairly nice out here.
Okay,
It's
y'all,
been
y'all,
like
you see your thing.
yeah, finally, like it's finally starting to get like a little bit better. It's super nice out. It looks like it's still gonna be like 75 degrees all week. I'm
Mm,
ready to be like shirtless though, so I need that 80.
I feel that. Get the tits out. Breathe the nipple.
Always, baby. Always.
I
All
love
right,
that.
y'all. Well, let's go ahead and get into the updates of the week. Not too much going on because everybody's dropping out. So,
Yes. Did you
San
see all
Diego
the stuff
Comic Con.
about? Oh, I was just about to say San Diego Comic Con.
That's what we're going to talk about, y'all. San Diego Comic Con is coming up in July, and I do have badges to go. I was going to document my whole time there, but ain't nobody going to be there because it
I was
looks
gonna say it's a
like
strike.
well, that too. That too. But Marvel, Netflix, Sony, HBO, Universal all dropped out and are skipping San Diego Comic Con this year. Granted, obviously, it's probably because of the strike, they don't have any content to really share. But it's wild to see that like something that was so like look forward to, I guess, for all these studios, because this is when they release all this new information, show some clips of what's to come, is just gone. And while I am okay with it in a sense, because it does let the convention kind of revert back to being about comic books instead of just about what's going on in Hall H with the movies, it's still kind of sad that all these people are kind of dropping out. I was looking forward to Wonder Man, y'all. I really wanted to see
Oh yeah.
Wonder
He
Man
probably would have
stuff.
showed up too.
I know, and he would have saw me in my Wonder Man costume.
You would have been the only person there in a Wonder Man
I'm
shirt.
the only person. Yes. I would have been probably the only like Black Wonder Man there, so we would have had a connection. But
yeah, I could definitely see that.
You
know, it's interesting though too that how you just made the comment about like it kind of going back to the comics thing, because I think about New York Comic Con when that comes around, how that's kind of become more of like the comic focused event. But even when you get to those, they might be having nothing to talk about there.
Nothing. Well, I think the last time I remember New York Comic Con being good was Marvel like released like a bunch of X-Men stuff at that stuff. I think it was Hickman, right? Wasn't most of his
When
stuff
they
at
first
New York
announced
Comic-Con?
like the Krakoa era.
The Krakoa era, yeah.
And it's just I don't know. But again, I think there's been like a
his history likes to repeat itself.
I
Who
mean,
knows what's gonna happen in New York Comic Con this year?
About to hit the fall of X. Did you see the trailer?
Child. I did. What are we doing?
You know,
like what are the X-Men doing?
I feel like, you know, I'm a big fan and supporter of the Hellfire Gala, the X-Men Bowl, all of those things. I love a classy party. I am conflicted. I do love the drama that comes with it, but at the same time, I don't know if I want a Nimrod coming in and killing everybody. We couldn't wait until the end. I mean, we don't know how long it's going to be before he comes in and does whatever he needs to do or attacks. But it's also like, just let me have a classy party. Why is that so hard?
I mean, it looked like based on the trailer, they can't even get the hors d'oeuvres around before he even start attacking. Like,
what's going on? So
people barely got their dresses zipped up, and he come blasting away.
Blasting away. I haven't even had a drink yet. I can't even get tipsy.
Nope. You gotta go armor up.
Like, what I'm talking about? Like, what's going on here? Let me have my party a little bit first. But I don't know. What's the side? I do love the Hellfire Gala, and really, I just want to know how this affects the vote in the galas in the future. Anything else? Whatever. That's all I want to know.
Well, y'all know how I feel about stuff. I'm always looking for the countdown of when the next thing is going to come. So I never saw the Hellfire Gala lasting this long. I thought 1, 2 max, and then they were going to something was going to happen at a gala that was causing them to be like, oh, we can't do this anymore, which could be this.
No, I don't think so. I mean, people have died at the gala like every year, I feel like. So I don't think that's going to stop.
Wanda died that one time.
And then, well, the last one the girl didn't die, but Moira came in her skin. So that was maybe.
But I mean, this one it looked like Nimrod is shutting it down. So they are all going to be, everybody's got to get scattered. Allegedly, like you aren't even allowed to be like in your home country or whatever. You pretty much got to go to Morocco or get out. So who knows what's going on?
I'll be tuned in for Astonishing Iceman. I like Iceman.
Iceman has always been a favorite
character.
It
is so crazy to watch. Like, what's that one Nicki Minaj video? First they love you, then they switch. Yeah, they switch. Like, and that has been you with Iceman for sure, because we can pull it back. A few months ago, we were like up there, and now all of a sudden it's like, get the bag off the TV. I'm not watching that.
It's very that. Iceman has always been a character I've really loved, but I don't know. His story has been, oh my God, he's so powerful, and I don't care. Like, we need a little bit more than that.
I think they've adjusted that. I think
I don't care about him and that Romeo boy. Like,
yeah, I don't really think anybody does. But the X characters like genuinely have like bad taste when it comes to like their romantic interests. But I do feel like Iceman has kind of moved beyond. I do think they still put a lot of emphasis on how powerful he is, yes, and like what he can do with his feats. But I think his Infinity comic did a really good job at kind of like pushing his story forward, especially with his dad and his acceptance of himself, and that is what has led to this next resurgence of him being super powerful all the time. We'll see what Orlando does with it. in this
Hmm.
miniseries for Astonishing Iceman. You know, I can kind of go back and forth on Orlando a little bit sometimes in his writing, but I'm open to it. I like the idea of him having like his own little fortress of solitude in Antarctica, like doing his golems. Again, Bobby being a little bit more confident and being one of those people to step up and be like, no, I'm actually going to protect people and I'm going to do what needs to be done before someone has to tell him to do it. I think that's also a nice
Now,
little.
see, now you're bringing me back in because I started thinking about like I really do enjoy um, the way that Bobby has become like a like self-realized gay man. You know,
Mm.
everybody was trying to clock him for going to Summer Tramp in the one
Yes,
in his
they
like
were.
Infinity comic, and I was like, what's wrong with that? Like everybody go to I go to those, it's fun. Like, and I appreciated that he was just being a regular gay man. Again,
You
I just
know, I
want
just
more story
rewatched
for
this
him.
movie on Hulu. It's called Fire Island. It's about the gays and how they go to Fire Island.
Yes.
You know, I remember like when it came out, there was a little bit of like controversy about inclusion and like, oh, it's a bunch of white gays going to Fire Island. But it's like, yeah, that's what they do. So it's like if you
Right.
see Iceman going to Fire Island or like Summer Tramp or all of that stuff, like, yeah, that's what they do.
That's what they do. So like, why wouldn't he do the same thing that everybody else do?
Why wouldn't he do that? And again, like you said, it's just kind of like a look into that culture for me, who's someone who doesn't do it. And it's like, oh yeah, this is what he do, and like why he does it inside.
I try to clock
Yeah.
me. I caught it.
That's not something I'm familiar with, but you know, that's where they go and they do it and they have a good time. And it's like he's being a superhero. He's getting his feats. Again, I feel like we got a lot of story about Iceman and himself and like his family. And I think that was one of the things that was always kind of holding the character back. People didn't really know how to go past that. It was either like you said, he's powerful. They were trying to hint at him being a closeted gay. And then when they did get into his family, he just had issues with his parents. His daddy dead, his mama nasty. He's happy gay. He's powerful. Now what?
You know what? It's best because it seems like they finally have made him like 30. And I think that's probably a
Yeah,
better Iceman for me there. Maybe his solo run will click him back up. He's still in my like top 5 favorite mutants, but like he's like
definitely.
number 5.
I don't know about that.
He's
Who
number
knows?
5.
I'm also going to read the Children of the Vault one just because that has Bishop in it. I'm a little worried though because Cable is also there. I do not want 4 to 5 issues of them talking about that little girl. I'm sorry.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm getting the feeling that they're about to make them friends. That seems to be the thing nowadays. I think they're not gonna be enemies anymore. Like, it seems as if a lot of Bishop and Cable's canon anyway, was like, oh, they're from different timelines, and it's like which timeline is the correct one, and that's how they kind of butt heads. But like now, everybody gets along, so I could see them going on this mission to take out the Children of the Vault. They may conflict on how they get it done. Bishop, may want to take a couple heads off, and Cable not really with that, but I could see them just
I don't know.
becoming friends.
We'll see. Again, like I do kind of agree with you in the sense of like Bishop's canon. I think, yes, the whole like hope thing is crazy, but I think in the grand scheme of things, if you think of Bishop and what he's going to be in, if he's in a video game or a TV show or something like that, all they're going to do is X-Men from the future. Like
Yes.
that's a black guy X-Men from the future with the gun. Like
Mhm.
that's the baseline of what you're going to get. So I can see that kind of being the basis for this, but at the same time, Cable is that girl's daddy. So
And I cannot stand that girl.
yeah, she's
Bishop
something.
was right. I was on his
I'm
side.
with you. I'm with you. Oh,
I
and
really want to see him lead a team. Like I really do want to see Bishop leading an X-Men team in the same way that they give Cyclops, that leader position of a field leader. I want Bishop to do that.
it would be nice, but I don't know. I won't cross my fingers.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, that's all the updates we pretty much have this week. It looks like Comic Con, the people are moving up out of going, and we'll see what happens when we get closer. Hopefully. And I remember Marvel even saying, like, we won't even have that many comic books to talk about there. So, like,
I also think it's just becoming a thing of like the way streamers and like all these services have come about. Like people are getting more into the habit of doing their own things. Again, even with like a Marvel Disney stuff, they do it at D23.
this
So
is
why do they
true.
need to keep coming back to Hall H? So it's going to be interesting to see if the Comic Cons evolve. to be like,
Mm.
okay, well, now are we going to put a bigger emphasis on comics and how we do things like that? Again, I always think back to the DC fandom thing events, how they did those and how it was virtual and how it was really interactive. And I thought that was like a really good idea. Obviously, it fell off during the wayside of the pandemic because once again, there wasn't nothing coming out. There wasn't anything to talk about. But I think that idea is something really good. And it's something that should be implemented a little bit forward. Again, we live in the digital age. Although internet might be down soon. I don't know if you've been seeing those reports. The scientists have been talking about a solar flare that might be passing the Earth and like it'll shut down the internet for a couple of months.
Oh, I was hoping it was gonna give me powers this time. Like,
No,
damn.
the internet shut down. And it was funny because I saw people online talking about some, yeah, we need the break from social media. And I'm like, yeah, the internet's more than just social media.
Yeah. It's more than just Twitter.
I need you to like realize what that is. So it'll be interesting, if they could try and like revamp it. But I think again that is kind of like a problem with comics as a whole. When we talk about the industry, when we talk about like comic books and like physical sales versus digital sales, and like how they're trying to do Infinity Comics and things like that, we've moved into a digital age, and comic books are kind of like not at the same level yet. And
Because
there
they don't want to be,
is
in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. I don't think they want a piece of. There is a delay in legitimizing these digital platforms for this medium because I don't know, whatever reason. But I think if they really like leaned into it and put the money behind it or put like the backing behind it, and got some people into it, it would be great. A digital Comic Con where people can like roam through and all that stuff like that.
Click different rooms and go to different panels and stuff like that. Absolutely.
That's hot. I don't know. Maybe one day.
Maybe. We'll see. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and take a break and then we'll come right back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ronan. I forgot you were reading that.
Yeah, it's been kind of good.
I don't know, we'll see. Oh, hello everybody. Welcome back to another week, another pool of comics. So it was a lot of stuff came out this week. I don't know why. Comixology still be messing up for me sometimes because I still get my notifications like, oh, you have these books coming out, but I'm pretty sure only like two of these I got emailed about, and then I opened up my Comixology app and it was like, oh, dang, and then I get my physicals of certain ones, so I had to go pick those up too. But it was a good little week regardless. We'll talk about the mentions. Cyborg #2 came out. It's a good book. Rainey's art is there. Guardians of the Galaxy #3 came out. That was I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a book that I'm about to switch over to Marvel Unlimited for. This issue particularly was about like Star Lord and the Spartax people. That's something I've really been excited about. I didn't really like the issue, and it just was like I like the Guardians, but I like Star Lord, and
Ah,
so and like the next issue was like, oh, it's gonna be about Rocket Raccoon, and I was like, I think I can just like keep up with this later. So I am moving that to that pile. Sorry to them. It's a good book though. I still recommend people try it at least. Bloodline Daughter of Blade #5 came out. That was the conclusion to the series. It was really good. This was honestly like the sleeper hit for me. We all know I used to say I wasn't really feeling Brielle and some of the stuff that they were doing with her. This completely turned me around. It is Buffy,
wow. Because
Black
you
Girl
weren't.
Buffy. Right?
You
I
weren't feeling her
wasn't.
when she was
I
introduced.
wasn't at all. But like this has been really good. I kind of hope that she shows up in the Blade series that's starting in July, at least for like an issue or two. If anything, just to be drawn by Elena Casagrande. Um,
Oh,
Hellcat #4 also came out this week. That's continuing the story of Patsy. It's been really dark. It's been macabre. I'm kind of like excited to see how it ends off. I think Patsy's a character where she is defined by her optimism and like how happy she stays at all of the bad things that happen in her life. And this is like really kind of breaking her down. So I'm wondering like where we're gonna finish off. And Avengers #2 also came out. That is the brand new run, very classic Avengers feel. You got to see a lot of your favorite heroes doing some hero stuff, and they're dealing with Kang. Feels a little MCU, but we get that. And heading into our main books of the week, we'll start off with LZ's reread. We have Annihilation, Ronan's 3 and 4. Tell
yeah.
us.
So I read the two. I read the two of these together again, kind of like I did with 1 and 2, because this issue, issue 3, was starring Gamora, and pretty much most of the issue was just Ronan and Gamora fighting the whole time. Previous in the last issue, I talked about they're on this planet. This is like this makeshift planet. Ronan has basically been trying to like find this girl named Niles so he can clear his name. He's been like exiled from the Kree. Gamora like basically became kind of queen of this planet. She had her own little space. She caught these girls that follow her, like Nebula, Cerise, and they were all like her graces. Well, she got into it with Ronan. Literally the whole issue they fighting. She's talking about how, oh, I got this like cosmic enhancement. Now I could fight. She's basically fighting like Rogue. I didn't know she had like super strength. She like picks him up and tosses him. And she's like jumping and leaping and doing all this kind of stuff. Also, she's wearing nothing. She's got no clothes on. It's basically in remember when Borat did that like bikini that thing?
Yes.
She's in that. And
is it black and yellow?
It is like a green and yellow. She's got a skull on the cooch. It's it's something. and of course, because you gotta have a cape and a hood, and she's like flipping around with that. But they fight the whole issue. Ronan could basically kind of clears her. He clocked the shit out of her with his hammer, and they were just going back and forth. She does kind of put up a good fight, but at the same time, the one thing I did like about this mini is they talk about how big this planet is, and you know when characters are on these new planets, they only really ever show like the little settlement that they land on, but this planet is really large. So there was like a Kree section of this planet where people were trying to get together. Again, the Kree are kind of all dispersed. They don't have a home planet right now. And there was like a Kree settlement. And there's this guy named Glorian who I guess he used to be a part of this like cosmic like apprenticeship. He was the maker of the world or whatever was his boss, and they separated or whatever. He's come to this planet to kind of terraform it and change it. He's been like using characters who have cosmic awareness like Ronan, Gamora. Talos is in this, as we'll talk about him later. And he's like trying to basically change the world. Mind you, it's been like 90 days and they show flashes of like Annihilation out there, like just killing everybody, but they're just on this space and like not really knowing what's going on. They did get that message in the last issue where one of Ronan's like friends told him, hey, there's an Annihilation wave coming. Korath was the one who kind of got it there. He starts to tell everyone like, hey, we got to stop fighting Gamora. We got other problems. And we need to go figure that out. And that's kind of how this issue ends, because by the end of issue 3, the Annihilation wave is starting to come to this planet, because the Glorian was using all this like cosmic energy to change the planet. It was kind of like desolate before, but he like changed it into this like very lush, bright place. But of course, Annihilus doesn't like life, so he's like, I sense cosmic energy, I sense new life, we got to snuff it out. So he's going to this planet to basically tear it up, and then they do get there. So that's kind of how the issue 3 ends. Issue 4 opens and they're all like fighting for their lives. The Annihilation wave is there. Ronan is like, I got my hammer, I'm trying to do whatever I can do to help everybody here, but I'm still trying to like clear my name. That's the most important part. Then Gamora is like, hey, maybe we could help each other out, because we basically have a common enemy now with this Annihilation wave coming. She tries to get back to her graces, and she's like, hang on, girls, like I'm coming to come back to help you guys out, because again, they're getting cleared by this Annihilation wave. By the time she gets there, the Nile girl who Ronan was looking for, she had been completely like killed, and she's on her deathbed, almost about to die, and Ronan is like, listen, girl, before you die, like, tell the truth. You were the one at my court case. You were lying about what happened to me. You're the reason I got exiled. Tell me the truth. Who put you up to this? And she tells like a little bit of why the person put her up to it, but he's like asking for a name, and she never gives a name. So she dies, and he never gets a name. So then Gamora and Ronan are like, listen, you got some of the truth. Maybe we can go find out something else, but we need to like work together. And by the end of it, they do end up clearing out pretty much, well, not them, Glorian kind of did it. So he's like this like really powerful cosmic guy. He ends up using this big cosmic wave to kill all the bugs that are there. And then like, he kind of loses his mind. So they like find him, and he's just like just kind of like looking into the space, and they're like, let's just leave him here. He lost his mind.
As a result
Let's
of
do that.
killing a whole bunch of people.
Basically, yeah.
I can see that.
So they kind of just leave him alone, and they learn that all of the Annihilation Wave is out there, like coming into Kree space, and Ronan's like, I gotta go do this, like, and go help. I can get, maybe this is my chance at redemption, and kind of come back into Kree. And yeah, that's how the issue ends. And this is kind of leading into more of the Annihilation. This part, I guess, again, it's been 99 days. So like Annihilus has been like wrecking everything out there. So we'll see how everyone out of the other corners are handling this. I think the next part of this story is Silver Surfer. No, it's Super Skrull. So we'll see how the Skrulls kind of deal with their stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed this issue, these two issues. I've actually kind of enjoyed this mini. It gave a little bit more context of Ronan and Gamora. Like, they talk all the time about her being the deadliest woman, and I never saw it, but this time I did. She was kind of wrecking shop a little bit. The skull and the cooch is cute. Her little bikini is very revealing. But like she was putting in work. I have to give it to her. And she was like leading the girls and like had this like all female squad or whatever. She was kind of cool. But yeah, it's a really good. This has been a really fun reread for me. I've read like most of the main Annihilation, like I've said before, and this was the first time ever reading this entire Ronan mini, so that was interesting. I actually did like the art too. Like it fit this story, if that makes sense. It's not something that I typically would like on the standard for me, but like it fit this. See, I really liked it. Overall, I would have rated the issues 3 and 4 probably like a 3.5 for both of them.
That's solid.
It's been great. Annihilation been running running it. So again, next issue we'll be talking with the Super Skrulls.
Do you think, just a quick question about Annihilation in general, do you think what they were doing with Null over in Venom, is that like kind of comparative to Annihilation?
Kinda, yeah, in a way. Like there's a main person coming and they're like wrecking shop all throughout the universe and they're heading towards Earth. Yeah. Kinda in a way, but this one I guess they're not heading towards Earth. They're just everything just out in space.
That's fair. All right. Well, next up on your book is The Authority 8 from Warren Ellis and Bryan Hitch. And it's so funny. I just saw a tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it, but I just saw a tweet about Bryan Hitch and all the black people he's drawn. And it was like how he's never met one in his life.
And you know what? Let's talk about that, because previously for this entire like read for me, you brought up like, oh, do you really like Bryan Hitch's art? And I'm like, yeah, it's been pretty good in this. Like, I don't see the problem. But then I realized, ain't no black people in this. That's why it's not bad. Like, there aren't any. All of the villains they've been fighting have been like extraterrestrial. And the first group was the Gamora Island. Like, they were all in China, and the current villains they've been fighting now, Regis and these like Albion people, they're blue in like space, so like whatever. And there aren't any black people on the Authority team, so like that's why the art hasn't been bad, because he hasn't drawn any black people, because he don't know how.
Difference, because baby, I was laughing at that tweet for a while.
Absolutely. And I mean the examples are like, whoa. The
and it's so
ridiculous.
It's so many.
Yes. Like, yes. I don't get it. But this issue opens up, and in the last issue we saw that the Albion people like kind of broke into the carrier, and they've been like ransacking places all across the globe. And basically we've learned that previously in their old universe, Regis turned China into this like rape camp, and he was going to try to make more Albion people. And now they're trying to do that on this Earth, on quote unquote our Earth. And last issue, Apollo like used all of his solar energy and like killed everybody in the space, but that was like all of his energy. He needs more. And Jenny Sparks was like, open a gate somewhere on the other side of the hemisphere where it's daytime and throw him out there and he'll be fine. And of course, Apollo's like, I'll do whatever I got to do. This issue opens up and Midnight is like, you're going to kill yourself. Like, I've already done the calculations. You're not going to get enough sunlight in enough time quickly. You're going to go through this portal and be free falling for at least a minute before you even can have enough energy to fly. And he's like, I'll figure it out. Like, I can just take in the sights. And Midnighter's like, no, you're gonna die, and then Apollo kisses him, and he's like, I wouldn't dare die on you. Like they have such a great relationship,
King,
and I love
King.
the way that they really like care for each other. They're great. And then for the pretty much the rest of the issue, they decide we're gonna just take this fight straight to Regis. Like we're gonna go straight there. Um, Apollo does end up like absorbing enough sunlight, and he's basically out on his own, like stopping all of the invasions all across the world, while the team is dealing with Regis and they're going directly to him. Jay Sparks does his really big lightning strike exactly where Regis is. They're trying to fight. Midnighter does get cleared. Now they do go and fight Regis, and he gets his ass beat. And Regis is like, "Oh, you think you were going to beat me because you got these enhancements? I could see them in your mind." And then that city boy is like hiding the entire time while Midnighter's on the ground. Regis is like, "Where is the other one?" And sure enough, the city boy like jumps from beneath him. And he's like, "I've been here the whole time. Like I've been in tune with the city, and I know what you did." And he like bursts.
I don't know, like it's the way you always talk about City Boy. That just really
I don't get it. It's just a dumb
it's
power.
like
I'm sorry.
and
I'm
it's just
sorry.
like you can just feel the confusion in his just like why is this character here? How is he doing this? Why is he doing this? It's just funny to me. I don't know.
He like just he like faded into the ground because it's a part of the city, and then he like phased out, and he like burst straight through Regis. He's like bleeding straight through his body, just cut him in half. And of course, Midnight afterwards, like I could have done that, like it was no problem. And they end up saving the day. However, it seems to be a little bit of some conflict with everyone on the team, which I kind of wish we saw more of amongst the whole team because they get back together on the carrier, and the engineer is like, yes, we saved the day, but we just killed a bunch of people to make them do what we wanted them to do, what we thought was right. And Jenny is like, well, yeah, we're the authority. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. So I don't really know if the engineer is really feeling all this right now. She may end up like leaving or turning on the team or something. I'm not sure. But again, I really appreciate seeing like the team come together and like kind of have their differences, agree with each other on stuff. It kind of reminds you of like, recently the X-Men with the Brood attacking where Jean and Cyclops were kind of on opposite sides of it. However, this,
Mhm.
no shade, this is better because because all of the team
Okay.
is involved in the conflict, like it's not just the the main two characters or whatever, it's the entire team. So yeah, I like this issue a lot. I did notice that I like the art because you're not drawing black people, so it's not bad.
Okay.
um, but yeah, enjoyed the
That'll be
issue. I
issue
would give
two.
it a 3.5, maybe a 4. It was
Okay.
really cool seeing Apollo like talk about his powers and be like, I got to absorb enough sunlight, and just his emotions with Midnighter are great. The team kind of coming together,
Mhm.
and kind of maybe even falling apart. So
Okay, almost four. The ratings are moving up. So
they
that's always
are,
a good
yeah.
sign. That's a good sign. All right, and jumping back to the present with one of your books of the week, Superboy #2 from Kenny Porter and Jahnoy Lindsay. Did did this book get delayed? I feel like you talked about the first issue like a long time ago, or maybe my sense of time
Okay,
is off.
so it did not get delayed, but that was on me because um, I forgot to add it the last time we were talking about books. So I did
Yeah,
want to talk.
yeah, yeah.
Issue 3 just came out like last week, so um, I just had delayed it. But we'll be talking about issue 3 maybe next week. So for issue
You're
2,
really going up for the Super family lately. It's kind of crazy to me.
oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh, I'm not even gonna lie. This book is hot. Like this is really exactly what I wanted out of a comic book and really for a Superboy book. So the last issue, we see all of the Dominator X. He made these like I don't want to call them clones because that's in this stuff clone is such a bad word for these people, but they clones. And he gave all these people powers, and they were like fighting, and um, the Cosmeteers are this like team. They've also been engineered on. There's this really cool black girl who she's got. I couldn't tell, and I would have to maybe go back and read it again. But I couldn't tell if each of these Cosmeteers were. like genetically spliced with different DNA, or if they've all got the same DNA, which means they all got the same kind of powers. Because the Dominator took Daxamite, Amaskian, and Zordian DNA to make them. Now, the Daxamites are just like super people, they're like Kryptonians. The Imsk people are from the Legion of Superheroes. If you know the people who can kind of grow and shrink, that's their planet. Like everybody on that planet has their powers. And the black girl on this team, she has those abilities. But she can also kind of fly. So I don't really know what was going on if they all got these abilities or she's only got that one. I would have to go back and kind of check that out. But they were originally also created by the Dominator X. And of course, they broke free, and now they're trying to break up all of the.
Can you imagine like
rest
a
of the
flying
clones.
giant just like going across your town right now?
No.
It's absolutely
That's
terrifying. It's
That
absolutely
is
terrifying.
terrifying.
I was watching a quick sidetrack, but I was watching Skull Island on Netflix, the new cartoon they got about like the monster thing, and this like giant bird comes and grabs this one guy and is like taking him somewhere, and like as he's taking him, I was just watching the show thinking I was like I would die before like we reached the destination. I would have a heart attack if some giant bird just like swooped down and grabbed you in his talons. Like that's terrifying. But go.
Exactly. So Superboy has saved all these people on this planet, and the Cosmeteers show up, and then of course they missed one of the villains that Dominator X sent out. So the Cosmeteers want to kill it. They have no problem killing people. Superboy is like, we can like not kill this thing. We can knock it out and still save the people. One of the guys was like, that's not how we do things, and killed the giant. And it's about to fall on all the people. Superboy catches it, and he's like, we got to talk about the way that y'all do things. And the guy's like, we don't got to talk about nothing. You could talk while you handles this power dampener. They strap him up, then lock him away, and they're like, you're going to be our prisoner right now. We don't appreciate the way that you do things. We are these Cosmeteers who are trying to like save all the clones out there. Superboy ends up breaking free of the jail. He fights everybody there, and he's like, I am going to kind of help you guys kind of get the ship back in order. They end up finding the Dominator X people, and this is where I've always kind of struggled with the way that Superboy's powers worked because of the tactile telekinesis on top of the Kryptonian abilities and everything like that. Like, how does all of that really work? Are you like Kryptonian, but are you also telekinetic? And this issue really opened my eyes to realize that his powers basically work like Carol's, where he's absorbing energy, but the energy he puts out is telekinetic energy. Because in this one, he like creates this force field that the ship gets to use to like ram into the other one, and he's also like shooting blasts from his hands, but they're like more concussive. They don't really burn or anything. So I'm starting to realize that his powers are like Kryptonian, where he's absorbing sunlight, and he still has like a Kryptonian body. However, they just produce telekinetic abilities for him, and that's kind of what he's been doing. And yeah, he's been kicking ass in this, and the next issue we'll see him like probably save more people and kind of work with the Cosmeteers. They've been butting heads this entire time. He don't really like the way that they're so quick to kind of kill everybody. Also, there was a backup issue in this, a Kid Flash one, written by Brandon Easton.
Which Kid Flash? Black Wally or White Wally?
Black Wally.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was written by Brandon Easton, and the artist was Travis Mercer. And I believe, somebody may correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these backups in this have been the other round robin voted books, because the last issue had the Green Lantern story in it that was also up there, like the Light of Forever or whatever it was called. So I do appreciate that like all of those books are still being put out. They're just backups for the book that won. So
yeah, that's really cool. So, and Brandon Easton is the guy who keep your eyes peeled on that, because he was the guy who wrote the Mr. Miracle miniseries that just got out. So if he pops up,
pretty good.
I'm here for that.
Normally y'all don't really like the Flash like that, because like Speed Force and speedsters aren't really my thing. But the issue wasn't. I read it anyway, but it was pretty good. Like they gave him a villain of like a Speed Force villain that's got he looked like Zoom. I don't know, y'all. I don't know the Flash like that. So like, I'm like, he looked like Zoom.
And you sit here like talking about it. I was like, you said Speed Force, and I was like, oh, I'm about to go to sleep.
Yeah, yeah. He got the Speed Force, but he's also got a Yellow Lantern ring. So like,
Kid Flash,
it's a little bit more of a no, the villain.
Oh, the villain.
Yeah, he's
That
got a
sounds like
yellow
too much.
lantern too. It's a lot, but I think they need a lot. Like with the Speed Force, you're doing anything.
That
They
is
need a
true.
lot.
That is very true.
But yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed the issue. Superboy is really, really good. Wrecking shop in this. We've seen a lot more of his personality, and I think sending him to space was great for him and giving him his own corner. Is really helping differentiate him from the gay one, the bi one. What was his name? John, and just what he can do and how they're different.
Bi one. Is he bi or is he
Is
gay?
he bi? I don't know.
They've always got him draped in different flags, honestly.
They do. He might be gay. I don't know. Whatever. Him. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about the real Superboy. So
I was gonna say the other one, Superman.
overall, that's right. And you know what? I'll appreciate a Superboy is like, that's who I am. Originally, when he first was created, his whole thing was like, don't call me Superboy, I'm Superman. But I think that he's made this, he's really carving his own lane, and I appreciate that. Overall, I would have given this issue also a 3.5, 3.75. I really, really enjoyed the art. I think I said this the first time, but it's really cool seeing this artist on this book because I was a big fan of his like years ago when I first was getting into Twitter and just like on the internet with comic book stuff. I used to run up in his mentions all the time whenever he would ask for suggestions and be like, draw static and stuff like that. And now he's drawing a DC book, like an ongoing one. So I think that's really cool.
That's always cool to see when you see the artist you like popping off like that. Shout out
Yeah,
to, I wish I could draw. Okay.
great book.
All right, and our last book on our list this week, the end of the end of an era. Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain #5 from Tini Howard and Vasco Georgiev. I'm gonna do.
Let us know, child. Let us know.
Just a quick little like rundown of the issue. So this whole kind of miniseries, Betsy has been fighting Morgan. She's been trying to stop Morgan Le Fay from doing her stuff. It's kind of felt like, I wouldn't say cartoon, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's more like a sense of like Morgan has been doing different hijinks every issue, trying to stop Betsy, and Betsy is like trying to figure out how to stop her. So we get to the end of this. Betsy has called in Phaedra Hussein, and she's got Strike, and they are going to lead a mission into Morgan's castle so they can rescue Micromax and stop her. Morgan is now living on this land, and she's protected by Doom, so they kind of made a pact that like if the mutants do anything, he's going to send his armies out. So while that is going on and they're discussing the plan, we also see Bryan, who is like still has some issues with the Furies because they've been trying to kill him, and he's like kind of attacking him in this like pocket universe that Jamie created. Rachel comes in and she's like, no, don't do this. She's got her like Ascani fire form going. She's like all flowy and fiery. Her costume's still kind of in, but we move on. And she's like, I need your help. I got to make a travel. I want you guys to come with me. So then we move on to the big mission. There was a data page earlier in this issue where it talked about like all of the Strike members and their powers. And like one of the big thing about Strike is that the sect that Betsy was in was obviously the telepathic division. So everybody was a telepath. If I remember, like back in the day, they had like different versions of telepathy. Like Allison was a precog. This one guy like could do whatever.
Like specialized telepathy.
Yeah, but I guess it's just kind of broad because like back in the day, Betsy didn't have full telepathy. She was a precog and a psychoblaster, quote unquote.
She brought up that psychoblast all the time.
Okay, it was hot. When it's a hot move, you gotta get the hot move.
Tell you about that
like,
psychoblast.
That was it was effective every single time. But we get into the mission. The data page. I was bringing that up because in the data page it said Pete Wisdom has telepathy, and I was like, that's not right. So I felt, and then like in this mission where they're talking about going to infiltrate it, they specifically make sure that Pete is with someone who does have telepathy because he doesn't. So I thought that was like, we're the editors. We need the editors to do their job. But then we get into the mission. They've infiltrated the castle. The strike people have like taken out the people who work for the Coven. They've gotten Micromax. So Betsy's like, okay, I see Morgan and her people. It's time for me to like bust in. They immediately get her with some Bright Swill, the stuff that like subdues their mutant powers. And Morgan's like, okay, I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to come attack my mission. Doom's got word. His Doom bots are on the way. we're about to have war in Britain. Betsy's trying to talk her down. She's like, don't do this. And then she's basically like, don't forget, you promised the Furies a war with me that you didn't give them. So while Rachel and Bryan and Megan go to return the Fury that attacked them back to Otherworld, Rachel's like, hey, you guys wanted a war, we can give you one. And so then all of the Furies go to attack the Doombots. And that's how they stop that threat. And while that's going on, Betsy's like reminding her, she's like, yes, this suppresses my mutant abilities, but I don't need those. They don't suppress the magic of Captain Britain. I have the strength, I have the speed, I have the sword. She like breaks out of the shackles that she's in. She kicks the guards down. She corners Morgan and she's like, you want to be one with the land? You want to have this? You want to do this? Okay. She stabs her. This part was a little confusing because in the text, Betsy is talking about having her Starlight sword and like having that be the thing that like does all this or whatever. But the art very much depicts it just as her regular psychic telekinetic sword. So when she stabs her, I wasn't sure if she was like switching over, if she was supposed to have one. Again, where the editors do it. Phasia is using Excalibur to tie Morgan into the land and it's judging her. So Morgan is fundamentally changed. It looks like we don't know if she's not bad. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. We don't know if she is good, but she's not as bad. It seems like her costume, she's always wearing black. It's changed to white. She's got like these lights around her, this green shawl. It's kind of a hot look. I'm not going to lie to you, but that's what it is. We cut to the end of the issue. Betsy and her family are at an interest fair at Braddock Manor. Apparently, Bryan is reopening the academy. And she's talking to Tony, and she's like, we stopped Morgan. She is changed. We'll be keeping tabs on her. We'll figure out, like, what if it sticks, if she stays good, if she stays bad. Rachel and the family and all of them are coming over talking about, like, how everybody's together, and they haven't been this way in a while. Betsy gets a call from, like, one of the other core members talking about, like, we have issues with some other girls. You got to come help us. So Betsy's like, I gotta go. Bryan's like, I understand. I'm proud this is you. You're Captain Britain. Her and Rachel fly off because what else was Rachel gonna do? And then the ending is a data page of like Betsy just thanking the Captain Britain Corps for being there by her side and like telling them about her journey and how she's gotten here. And that's the end of the issue. And the end of Tini Howard's run on Betsy as Captain Britain, it feels like.
Wow. Did it feel like it was a satisfying ending? Did it feel like it was a setup for what could come? Sometimes people end miniseries, even though they know they're not gonna come up with something right after, they'll end it in a way where you can be like, to be continued. Does it feel like there'll be more?
Yes and no. I say yes because obviously Betsy ends off the run still as Captain Britain and she's like going off to save the day. So of course you can always kind of like throw in any story where she goes to do that. So it can obviously be continued. It feels like the end in the sense of it feels like the end. Like it was time for this to be done. It was time for this writer to like move on. She had told the story. When you go back to like what this Excalibur trilogy was, Excalibur started off with like Betsy and supposed to be in this really bad space. She was down in the dumps. She wasn't really sure about like what to do. She had given up the name Psylocke. She was living on this island. She's not trying to be Miss Killer Girl anymore. Now what? Okay, Apocalypse comes up to her and he's like, hey, I need Otherworld, so I need your help. She becomes Captain Britain. Then you get that. Now you get to the job. Okay, she's Captain Britain. How does that work? People don't like the mutant Captain Britain. They don't like that she's a woman. They don't want her to do this. They want her to go back to being the ninja girl. So it's like, how do you kind of like carve the path of what she does? You get to Knights of X. That's the big finale to like the Otherworld portion of this story. Okay, we did all this stuff with the mutants. She saved these people. She found this way. She now is in the space of Captain Britain where she doesn't serve anybody else. It's kind of like turned everything up on its head. It's not about taking this the test on the sword anymore. It's not about her necessarily like just protecting Otherworld. It's about her protecting the magic of the land. It's about her protecting the mutants who live there. It's about protecting the multiverse now. And so then you get to this final chapter of it, which is Betsy Captain Britain, and like you're getting the just that. It's like, okay, she's done everything else. This is her being the hero. And like you've seen all three components of that now. And it's just like, oh, okay, it's done. She can do more, but now what else do you do with it? that makes it feel different, or that makes it feel unique in its own way? Or like, what do you do with the concepts that have been introduced? How are you going to like continue on with those? Do you put her back in Otherworld and like try and say, oh, an aspect is there? Or do you just continue on to say she just does her own Captain Britain Otherworld adventures? Do you kind of like try and integrate her back into the X-Men fold? And if you do that, how do you do that in a way that doesn't feel like you're putting her on something that she's already done? I see people online, they were like, oh, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing the Captain Britain on X-Force. But it's like, you saw her be Psylocke on X-Force. Why would you think that would be anything different? And even so, in the space of like where Betsy is supposed to be as Captain Britain, the whole thing is that she doesn't do the things that she did as Psylocke. Yes, Psylocke was the dark, edgy girl. She was killing people. She was stabbing people. She was moving in the shadows and all that stuff. And Captain Britain is kind of supposed to be like this bright and shiny hero. And I don't, it's supposed to be an evolution of that. It's supposed to be from her to say, like, I don't got to do all that anymore. It's like, and she sits in the space, she says, oh, yeah, I will still kill you, Merlin, but only if it's absolutely necessary. I will still, like, send you to death, Malice, but, like, only if, like, that is truly my final choice. And to put her on something like an X-Force is just like, oh, you're just regressing and going backwards. So it feels satisfying in that way that, like, oh, this story did need to end, but it also feels kind of unsatisfying because, like, I don't know if that transition was made smooth enough, and I don't want the stories to continue to be like that, her having to prove over and over again that like, oh, I'm not the killer girl, I'm not doing it this way, I'm not doing it that way. It's like, can we just kind of cement that like, yeah, that's who I used to be, I still might need to do it on occasion, but it's no longer the first choice. It's been a long 4 years, I'll tell you that.
It's been a long time. Yes. Yes. Captain Britain was here.
But I will say though, I think that again, in the sense that it was time for this to end, I was ready for it to end. Like, and I know some Betsy fans, you know, I'd be on the forums and on the Twitters talking to the people, and a lot of them are like, oh, you know, she's going to be in limbo for the next few months. She won't be in Fall of X, blah, blah, blah. Y'all fight all day long, every single day. Take a breather. Take this time to like really just kind of sit back and be like, you know what? This is cool. Whatever's going on, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I don't have anything to be mad about. And know that like if she does pop back up at some point in time, it might be like a cameo queen status. But that would be what they wanted. They want to see her back with the X-Men, so like that cameo queen status would be helpful. And if she does eventually get into another book at some point in time, it will now be under a new creative team and like a new creative onset. So it's like, okay, what do you do? I'm personally like, I like truly don't want to see this lady again until like spring 2024. Maybe summer, if we're keeping it real.
Come on, spring, summer.
Come
on, Sheree.
I don't even want to hear her name. I don't want to hear no discussions about her. I don't want to hear nothing. Like, just go. Like, I feel like with Tini Howard, people are not going to like her writing. That's perfectly fine. But I'm not ever going to sit here and say that, like, some of the stuff that was going on with that lady and how she was treated was not full on misogyny, and it was just not full on attacks on her. And, like, I truly want her to get online and just kind of be like, all right, bitches, I'm done. Bye. Like, say something nasty and just like move on, because there was, and even like in this book, you know, I'll give it the issues. Like, one of the things I said was very irritating is that Betsy like constantly and consistently tells you that she's Captain Britain, like every single time in the book. Every 5 pages, I'm Captain Britain. Even here, when she was breaking out of Morgenstern, she's like, oh, I don't need my second powers. I got the powers of Captain Britain. Da, 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 da. Which also, Tini, why would you finally tell us what power she has in the final issue? That should have been at the beginning. But whatever.
I've always wondered if she still had the Captain Britain ability. And just to find out now.
Everyone has. And it's like the final issue, you say, oh, I got the strength and the speed, and you got her busting out of something. It's just like, oh, okay. Like, we didn't know that, but whatever. You know, one of the things I feel like she kept doing that, and it obviously felt like a pointed line towards the detractors of this book. Because when Betsy, I'll never forget, man, when Betsy first became Captain Britain, there was obviously a lot of controversy. But one of the things that really got me was how many people all of a sudden came out the woodwork as Bryan Braddock Captain Britain fans. And it was like, oh, Bryan is like this super cool character who's now being done wrong, and he blah, blah, blah. Y'all wasn't never talking about Bryan before this. I don't want to hear it. You're lying. Okay? There were like 10 British fans who were fans of Bryan Braddock Captain Britain. I know. because I had to deal with them because I'm a Betsy fan. And they hated Betsy because they did wish she was so much more popular than Bryan. And so like it was a thing where like you had the people who were like, oh, they didn't want her to become Captain Britain because they felt like that would lower the popularity. You had the people who were like, oh, Bryan's getting shafted, even though they didn't want to see nothing with Bryan before anyway. And then you have those Alan Muir purists who like don't like Tini because she was kind of changing a lot of stuff that he set up, or she was even calling back to it or pulling some of the stuff from it, and they just felt like she wasn't good enough to do that. And it was just like, be calm. And so I think she had to deal with a lot of that for a lot of that time and kind of just trying to write the best story she can. And so, like, I'll give her that. She tried to do what she could do. Like, it wasn't going to be for everybody. But I feel like at this point in time, if you were reading this book in particular, you had accepted that. And you probably like Betsy as Captain Britain. So for her to constantly have this line of being like, oh, I'm Captain Britain and telling you and reminding you and like proving it to herself, it was like, who are you talking to? The people who hate it are just going to hate it. You're not convincing them of nothing. You're just being repetitive now to the people who are actually engaged, and that's like kind of dragging it down because it's like, why are you yelling? What you yelling at me for?
What I do? I feel like maybe that was just her trying to really hammer it in. That was just part of the story. That like Betsy started off as this kind of unsure, insecure in her position kind of thing, and then like she's constantly saying it to people who were confronting her that she's not Captain Britain.
But again, wasn't nobody confronting you at that point? Like, okay, girl, again, we liked it. But I don't know. It's over now. I feel like I said, it was time for this to end. I will say overall, I think of the entire Excalibur trilogy, I really did like this one the best. I said it, I think with issue 4, it really did kind of give me everything I've wanted to see with Betsy. I've always said I wanted to see like her past acknowledged as like a model and kind of a celebrity, and her being, she's always wanted to be like the Captain Britain hero. So it was fun to kind of see her like play up that role. She was getting in front of the camera. She was doing the paparazzi was following her. They were hosting events for her public image. Obviously she was out like saving Britain and doing things like that. The family aspect was there. It was cool. Like it was a fun time. I think as we got to the end again, there were like, I saw some of those ticks that continued to go throughout the entire time of it. And it just reminds me like that, like as enjoyable as this can be, it's still always gonna be a little shaky. And I had a good time. I accepted for what it was. It's cool. We had it. It's over. I'm more excited now for the future.
I'm excited to see where Betsy goes next. Hopefully with a new costume. I don't dislike the Captain Britain costume, like the main one, but I like a new one.
It feels, again, like this is another thing. Like this costume is, I've always said I like the costume, but it feels very specific to this like creative turn with like Betsy as Captain Britain. Even when you think about Bryan, he wasn't running around in nightwear all the time. He's got his spending. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if the next person comes in, what's going to change? How are we going to change around? How are you just going to make this not feel like Excalibur 32? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? What team is she going to use? What name? Is she even going to be the leader anymore? Don't put me. I don't know. It's like I said, I'm happy.
A lot. You got a lot to worry about.
Like I said, I'm very happy to just rest for a little while. Let the extra books do what they're doing with Fall of X and like play out. We'll see.
Got plenty of content you can go back to.
We got plenty of content. I know a lot of people are also kind of worried about like Betsy and Rachel and what that means for them if they're going to be off. Again, like the end of the issue ends with Betsy and Rachel flying off together to go save the people. So I think I've always said like this is a very impactful relationship. I think it's a lot more impactful for Rachel than it is for Betsy. And I think that they should be together at least for maybe about a year. I don't know if I see it lasting past that though. If something happens if they break up before, oh well, I won't have to pretend to like Rachel anymore. We'll get over that, But if they do, I hope that there's a writer that hits them that I feel like a lot of people don't like the relationship. They say like, oh, they're too lovey-dovey. They're always kissing. They're always happy. I'm sorry you don't know what love is. People can be happy together. Okay, especially in the new phases of their relationships, especially gay people, especially lesbians, specifically.
Hello.
Like girls move quickly. They're like, don't get on my nerves. But I know I would still like a little bit more I guess, of Rachel's personality to kind of shine through. I don't mind that they lovey-dovey, that they always want to be up under each other, that they always want to kiss and hold hands, whatever. I get it. I like a man once before too. But like Rachel.
They probably have to give her a personality first to like give her something to kind of counteract Betsy's, because otherwise she's kind of there.
Isn't she supposed to be like, I don't know. I was about to lie. I have no idea.
You don't know.
I have no
She's
idea.
always been a horse girl to me, but that could just be me. Like,
hey, that you call you a horse girl.
You know what I mean? Like, you like horses. She's always been a horse girl to me, but maybe that's not who she is. Maybe she's like,
I don't know. I just feel like she's annoying, but I also feel like that is a part of her character to be annoying. I feel like back in those Excalibur 80s Excalibur days, she was kind of like the crybaby. She was always, and she still be crying now too. But again, like I think she's supposed to be annoying, but it's like I need something else other than annoying. Like Kate's annoying, but Kate's also like a ninja sometimes too,
and a pirate,
and like, and she's supposed to be smart. So like she has these ideas and she can do things like that. Like Rachel was like, okay, you're annoying and powerful. Like, oh, okay, that's fine. You're great, you're powerful. We got a lot of powerful people. Honestly, they might be making
sound like a mother.
Well, I don't know.
It sounds like to me.
I don't know. Also, the thing about Rachel is like the Ascani thing is like kind of cool, and I'm not gonna lie, I was into it, like the whole Holy Warrior, like big iconography stuff like that. But the way it's kind of written here, she might be too powerful. She was she teleporting through multiverses. There's like fire. She see the sacred timeline. It's kind of like, oh, you might be
too powerful to use.
But that was the issue. I'd give this one like 3 out of 5, maybe like 2.8. But like some of that was honestly some of just like the inconsistencies going through the issue, like with the art and stuff, which I don't really put in the creative team. Again, I think that should be like an editor's job when they're going through. If this character is saying they're using Starlight Sword, you should be reading it like, oh, this should actually look like what it's supposed to look like, and just like other little bits. But it's over.
How would you rate the entire mini?
The entire mini, I would give it like a 3.3 out of 5. I think it was enjoyable. I think, and it's so interesting here that obviously during the Excalibur Knights of X time, those were supposed to be like team books that had a major focus just on Betsy. I feel like this one now acting as like her solo has more of a team focus and a better team focus than any of the other ones had. You get a lot of stuff with the Braddocks. We see Strike in here. They're having like a entire psychic intel mission. Betsy's like leading mission. They're having meetings about what they're doing. We get a lot of stuff. Bryan and Megan's relationship. It was fun. Like again, it's like this is what those kind of like slice of life comics feel like a lot of times. You're getting the superhero stuff in tandem with like their personal life. Again, we see Betsy going out to events. We see her doing PR stuff. She's going to meet with the Avengers because she needs their help. We're seeing the day-to-day. We're seeing them talk about things at night and the missions and all of the stuff that go on with it and just living her life. It's fun.
Okay. Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain.
Woo! That's it. Let's go ahead and take a break and then we'll come back.
Let's do it.
All right, so welcome back to the watch section of the show. And you know we have been watching Justice League, but this week and for the foreseeable few weeks, we're going to be pulling over and watching the MCU Secret Invasion show. Now, you know, the Spy Girls aren't really my ministry. Like, they're fun sometimes, but like whatever. And I was never that big into Secret Invasion, the comic story. I remember when it came out, like, I don't know, I was like 17 or something like that. And I remember the ads being cool. Like the Who's the Skrull, that little girl eating her ice cream. That was like, that stuff was kind of cool. But I remember the actual event, I was like, oh, like, okay, it wasn't like something that super drew me. I did find it interesting that Elektra had been in, a Skrull, and like that was the thing that kind of set it off. And them going to I think they were in the quantum realm when they saved Wasp and brought her out or something. Um, and everybody coming back from that ship and like fighting all the Skrulls at the end of it. But like, I don't know. I didn't think that storyline was like that hot for me.
I was
Did
gagged.
you like the original comic? Oh, you was gagged. Okay.
Yeah, like I'll never forget, especially like when Mockingbird came out of one of the ships and he was like, "Oh my God, this is my wife. She's back. She's like with a Skrull," and then they kill her, and then she actually turned out to be a Skrull, and so he was mad. But then they went back and they actually found her body again in the real Mockingbird. Like Secret Invasion was hot when they like kill Elektra and she first turned into it, and then all the stuff about Spider-Woman and her potentially being like, well, she was, you know. No, I thought it was like super high. I kind of really love those type of storylines where they're like, there's a mole and we got to figure out who it is, especially like in this type of environment where again, it was a really great chance to bring a lot of characters back. Honestly, easily. Like we might have had some people who had like died before. It's like, oh no, we could just kind of hand wave it as a scroll. But then also you get these moments that you can impact the characters with, because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you've been having all these like really heart to heart moments with Jessica Drew, just to find out, oh, that's not Jessica Drew. And then when the real Jessica Drew comes back, she don't even like you. It's kind of like what Sink and Laura was going through for a little bit in time, you know? And the tension that creates, and then just the sense of like the lack of trust that was permeated throughout the rest of the Marvel universe for it. I just thought it was like a really cool event. I thought it was really interesting. I liked a lot of the twist of it. The follow up that just recently happened with Maria Hill and Nick Fury. I thought that was fun and cool. But that said, I don't think I will ever need to see it again.
Like that whole like another Secret Invasion things are being taken over.
Like I think we had the first one that obviously would do what it did. This miniseries that just recently passed, where it showed that they were kind of like infiltrating, but like not really, and it was still more Skrulls trying to help them on that side, so they were able to stop it that way. Like that was cool. I think if you do it anymore, it's kind of like, all right, we hit
loses effect. Yeah, but the show has now come out, and episode 1 was titled Resurrection, and it was directed by Ali Salim and written by Kyle Bradstreet and Brian Tucker. And before we get into the episode, I'll read like a synopsis of it. But before we get into the episode, I will say that I kind of like enjoyed it. It didn't like wow me, but it didn't like turn me off either. I was interested in everything that was kind of going on.
Yeah, I mean, it gave me spy thriller. It was intriguing. I felt like they're building up the plot a little bit. We're seeing the characters. I really did like Nick Fury and Olivia Colman's character. Like their interactions together. I thought there were some little parts I was confused about. I'll wait till after you read the synopsis. In the ending, we'll talk about that.
It's gagged. Okay, so in Moscow, Talos is pursuing Everett K. Ross for killing CIA agent Prescott, who theorized that Skrull rebels are plotting to incite war between Russia and the United States. Mariah. Could you imagine Mariah Carey?
It's Maria Hill.
Maria Hill arrives to assist Ross, but discovers he is a Skrull and calls Nick Fury. Returning to Earth to meet Talos, Fury learns that Talos has been exiled from the Skrull Council, and former ally Gravik has taken leadership position with the rebels. Fury is kidnapped by MI6 agents and taken to meet old acquaintance Sonya Falsworth. He proposes an alliance to stop Gravik, but she refuses. Using a bug to eavesdrop on her and the Prime Minister, Fury and Talos locate another rebel. His name is Vasily Popskin, but Fury kills him after failing to interrogate him. Talos reunites with his daughter Gaia, and who acquired dirty bombs for the rebels. After he claims Gravik killed her mother, Soren, Gaia reveals that rebels plan to attack on Unity Day and make the bombs location and marks the bombs locations. However, Fury, Hill, Talos discover the locations are decoys before Gravik detonates the bombs. In an ensuing chaos, Hill is shot by Gravik, disguised as Fury. Fury and Talos forced to flee and abandon her. Now, this episode, like, had a lot going on. But like was also kind of a little bit of a slow burn. I kind of wish that they put more of the episodes out You know, to kind
I
of
feel
really
like
build
we've
that
also
hype.
kind of like gotten into that type of situation where like we're used to shows putting out at least like 2 to 3 episodes at one time, and like you said,
Mhm.
spy thrillers tend to build, so you expect that kind of slowness in the beginning. I didn't mind it, I guess, because I'm used to it, but I can't understand like, oh, I would have appreciated a second or third episode, especially after that ending.
Yeah, I needed a little bit more. But it was interesting to see at the beginning that Ross had been a Skrull because how long he been a Skrull?
So, oh my God, so I'm not gonna lie to you. So when I was watching that, I was thinking to myself, is this because obviously the show is supposed to say that people haven't been who we thought they were this entire time, but I was like, this is also a convenient kind of way to be like, is either Ross has been a scroll for a while, or he hasn't been, and just this particular guy just happened to go on like this mission pretending he was Ross at the
Mhm.
time. So I like that was one of the things I wasn't really sure. I was like, I don't know if you're trying to really tell me that Ross has been a scroll this whole time, or if you're gonna hand wave this away and just be like, no, that guy was a scroll Ross, but our Ross has been real. I think it would be more interesting if he was a scroll the entire time though.
Yeah, that would be really interesting, especially considering all of his ties with like the Black Panther movies and everything. Like
He's in everything. And then
he
it's like,
was.
would we have gotten snatched? Because you think about someone like Shuri, who was operating on him during Black Panther. If he was a scroll, I feel like she would have seen something in when she was scanning.
Hmm. Um, but maybe they've just gotten so good at like their morphing abilities that they couldn't really
Better
tell.
than Wakanda Tech? I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, never mind. Let me not be nasty. Um, the Prescott being killed in the beginning was interesting. I'm waiting for people to probably start using him and that like board behind him as a meme of like, what am I doing? Go look at all these like theories that I've got. Um, I do have to say that Beto the Scroll is fine. So I say,
Yeah,
let
he's
him do
still
what he
a
got to do.
man.
I think
Okay.
let's hear him
Uh,
out.
okay.
Maybe we could work with him or something.
He was fine. I
Um,
do agree with that though.
I found it interesting that they were able to find a place to put the scrolls and like give them a location anyway,
It's
and
so
having the
funny.
Russian like
When
uh
I was
power plants was interesting.
when I was watching the show, it was so funny. I had just been talking to someone earlier that day about this show on HBO called Chernobyl. It was a miniseries talking about like the time. And I was
Hmm.
also discussing like how in Aaron's Avengers he had the vampires go to Chernobyl. And I was like, oh, it's such a good place because obviously nobody can go there because the radioactivity is so bad. But you have these creatures who can be immune to that. And where were they at? I was like, exactly, the perfect hideout. And it makes me wonder if anybody's really hanging out over there.
Or like who else is over there?
A lot.
You know,
Probably some of the people down in the ocean.
Russia's huge. That whole area is huge. And when they were showing all the different silos of all the like radioactive silos and stuff, it was like all over. So
There's something out there.
mm-mm, I'm not going to explore it. So Fury comes back down to Earth, and basically, anytime he talks to somebody, they clock at him on being old. Like
And
he's
he
like,
looked it.
he does. He got a little bit of a limp. He walk a little slower. He can't like flip and roll like he normally does.
And everybody was
But
like, you don't look like you're ready. You don't act like you're ready because you're not ready. But you here pretending like you're ready. Go somewhere. That is the ego of men. Go sit down.
clock it. But he don't want to because he's a man, and he gotta be the one to do it. So here he is. I did like the conversation that him and Sonya had. They have a really fun like banter with each other. I thought that was great. Um, Gravik and all of his stuff with everybody back there when Amelia Clark, Gaia, when she kind of brought in Beto into the scroll encampment, and you see how all of them live, and they also used that memory machine that was in Captain Marvel to kind of take the memories from people because they've already established, and I think this is also established in the like comics too, that when a scroll impersonates you, they also get your memories, but it's like surface level memories. They don't get any like deep stuff. So like yes, they may know very superficial things, but other stuff that's deeper that they can't really remember. So um that's kind of how you kind of figure out if a scroll you gotta ask them something that is a deeper question. But now they got these machines that gives them complete memories of everybody, so you can really fully infiltrate people. Um, so I found that interesting. When Talos reunites with his daughter, I thought that that was really cute. You know, she kind of came back and was like, you know, maybe I will help. Do you think that Gravik really killed the mom, or you think he's kind of manipulating her into joining his side again?
No, I think he killed him.
Mm.
You see, Graphic is a bad man. Like,
He is.
completely and fully. I love
Mm.
it.
Are you just saying that because of the ending?
No. The ending pissed me off.
We'll get there. We're gonna get there. So Fury and Talos like find that guy, that one rebel, and they're interrogating him. And by the end of the fight, like Fury kills him. And during the fight, Talos kept saying like, "Don't join in this. Like, let me do it." But by the end of it, he's like losing the fight, so Fury shoots him. And again, Talos was like, "You should have let me do it." And you could see the like sadness on his face, which was, I recognize that I am not on the same side as my people, because I don't think what they're doing is what we should be doing as far as infiltrating this planet. But at the same time, I don't want to kill any of my own people, and I don't want them to be killed. So let me handle this. I would have just taken him down or knocked him out or something like that. But now we have a dead scroll on my hands, which could have been prevented. So I thought that that was really an interesting kind of emotional
And
stake
that's
that they
what's
added
gonna
to it.
piss them off because it's like, oh, now you're just killing our people willy nilly. So yeah, now we're definitely gonna go forward with our plans.
Yeah, and Talos is like looking like a traitor, so they definitely aren't really feeling him. When they put his head on the guillotine, I'm sure Gaia is gonna have some issues there. Um, so then they find out that they've got these bombs. They've marked the bombs with this like infrared spray so people can kind of see them. They said, "You got to watch, we'll stop them." And of course, there were multiple people out there with these bombs. They're all like walking around and trying to be like sneaky spy stuff. And they missed the pass. Then like some craziness happens out there in Russia, and Gravik ends up detonating one of the bombs. Maria Hill sees Fury. She goes over there to kind of help. I mean, to kind of see what's going on. He shoot her in the gut, and she just lays there, laid out. Now, some people may have thought, "Oh, she's gonna turn back into a Skrull." No, no, no. She did not. She did. So,
I screamed. I
no,
teared up. I was so
no more
upset.
Maria Hill.
Everybody who knows me knows I'm Maria Hill stand like down. Like that is my girl. She is a nasty woman, but I'm gonna stick beside her no matter what. And I like Kobe as Maria Hill. I was like of two minds. One, it was shocking, of course, like you're expecting something bad to happen, you see her die. But I felt like with Maria, we have seen Maria go through like so much other stuff. So to see her like just get taken out in this simple way, it was like, damn, that sucked. But then also it's like we have seen her go through so much other stuff, but it still feels like she didn't really ever get like her big moment. And
Right.
so it was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, but of course, this is the MCU. She could come back in 2 issues, or they'll like find something to resurrect her, or like grab her from another universe. I don't know.
Maybe
But
she's a life mighty decoy at LMD.
the LMDs are always around. So we'll kind of, I guess we'll wait to see. But like on my initial reaction, I was hurt. I was sad. Uh, I was a little disappointed. But she, she told Nick, she was like, "You're slow. You're not moving right. Somebody's gonna get hurt." That was foreshadowing because it was obviously her. Um, and we'll see what happens. But I am sad. If this was like a permanent death for Maria Hill, I'm gonna miss her for sure.
You know, I'm of two minds of Maria Hill dying. The one side of me is like, she didn't, like you said, she didn't really have her moment, like, you know, where she normally she busts in somebody's house and she's arresting people and taking some people down or whatever. So she never really got to do that in the MCU. Um,
Yeah.
but also, like the thing that I've enjoyed the most about the MCU is that time exists. So like she can't really do this forever, and she had been doing this since like 2008 or whenever. So like, or at least 2012 when she was in the Avengers. So I think she couldn't have done it forever. But I guess they also did need to fridge her to like kill her off. She could have just died in combat or something. But it's obviously she's been killed off to kind of further Nick Fury's story.
So
So
he could be sad.
yeah. So I didn't really appreciate that they killed her to like make him sad. Um, again, she could come back. Maybe it's a life mile decoy. Maybe someone, a Skrull infiltrates and starts being Maria Hill. Who knows? Um, But I did find it interesting that she died. I didn't necessarily need it to happen, but I kind of understood why, because of the like time. She can't be in these forever.
Was there anybody in this episode who you think is a scroll now, outside of the obvious scrolls we know?
You mean like in the like greater MCU, like
Yeah.
Sharon Carter? I do. I think when we were watching what's your boy show? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When we were watching that, and she like kind of had this heel turn at the end where she was becoming the power broker and everything, and she seemed to be kind of pulling some strings. That to me was giving Skrull. So I think that she might be a Skrull, and she was there to kind of get the people to start fighting each other and get these like countries to be against each other. That's my guess.
I can see that.
I don't think any of the like big characters are Skrulls. You know, like Captain America or Black Widow. Oh, that's a good call out. He could be. He's a higher up official.
I was about to say he's very high up. He's like close to the president. He keeps tabs on like the stuff that's going on. Obviously, that would be a big like thing for Iron Man, so they can pull in some man.
Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, he's probably on top 3 of my watch list for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to add him to mine because I didn't even think about him. But Sharon Carter for sure is on mine.
Sharon's interesting.
Are there any superheroes that you think might be Skrulls, or do you think it's mostly like non-powered characters? They can't recreate powers, so.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of like who the heroes I could see. Maybe one of the Hawks, Hawkeye.
Oh, I guess.
No, that's like not exciting, right? Like,
yeah, right. That's not. Not really giving me much.
But I feel like if we wanted like that big shock value, it would have to be somebody big. But I feel like a lot of the people who you would kind of think of to make that big reveal are folks who have either left the MCU already, or they're just kind of lower tier characters that are left. So or like they're people who honestly, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like they don't mean anything to the greater MCU yet. Like if you make She-Hulk a Skrull, what's that gonna do?
Right. She's not like integral yet.
Who she know? You know what I'm saying? So like you have to kind of start toning down. Bruce maybe, but he just brought his son back, so even that would be kind of strange if he was a Skrull. How would he know about that? Who else exists? Again, like a lot of those people, it wouldn't matter yet. Maybe. Yeah. No. Rhodey's just on my top of the list for sure.
Rhodey might be a good one. Again, with him, how long ago did they change for him? Like.
Probably.
Wait, isn't he walking?
Yeah, that's what I say. Probably when he hurt himself.
Is the walking one a Skrull? Because shouldn't the one that hurt himself not be able to walk without that like walking machine, those legs?
I thought they implanted something. You know, the Iron movies be doing.
That is true. I knew he had like leg prosthetic things that were around his legs so he could walk. And now I'm wondering where they go.
Go to the Google. It's time to research.
Now you got me questioning who was real Skrull. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the episode. It was a little bit of a slow burn for this to be a kind of spy thriller thing. I'm not sure how the week to week aspect of it will go, but they've done those before in the past, like a 24 or any of those kind of things where you kind of just got to jump back into the excitement. So we'll keep watching and see what's going on. How would you like rate this first episode?
I will probably give it like a solid 3 out of 5. I thought it was interesting. I will say I think it moved kind of quick at certain points. Like even when Fury was like walking through the city, and even Talos first chase scene where he was going after the guy infiltrating Ross. Like I felt like a lot of stuff was just like happening like super quick during that. So we kind of like moved through some things. I'm interested to see like how the action stays on this. If we continue, obviously like folks like Nick Fury and some of the other guys are using like stunt doubles, but how are we going to keep in the realm of reality that like Nick Fury is this older guy, so he can't be doing a lot of those like big flips and kicks and stuff like that, but he is fighting these younger Skrulls who have like stronger abilities and a little bit more agility than he does. So I wonder who else we'll see to kind of come in and do that if we even get that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that he'll be a Skrull by the end of this, and that's what we go into for like the Marvels, where no one knows that he's a Skrull? Because he's obviously going to be in that. We've seen him in the trailer, but what if he's a Skrull?
I could see it. I could honestly see something happening to him maybe in like that one, and then they bring Maria back and she's a Skrull. If we don't end the Skrull threat by the end of the show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. You better work Maria back into the story. Bring her back around. Yeah, overall, I thought it was a good first episode. Definitely check us out next week. We'll be talking about episode 2. But yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. Please make sure you guys rate and subscribe us wherever you get your podcast. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Another Relaunch. You can email us at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can watch us on YouTube at Another Relaunch TV. You can find me on most social media platforms at UncannyLZ. Keenan, where can they find you?
You guys know you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lance. As always, there's an underscore at the end.
All right, y'all, let's get up out of here, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Bye.